There are 6 kinds of gamer. And here's the strange part. Almost nobody guesses their own correctly. Because your type was never really about the games you play. It's about what you're quietly reaching for every single time you press start. Stay with this, and by the end, you'll know exactly which one is you. This isn't about casual versus hardcore. This isn't about how many hours you've logged, and it's definitely not about how good you are. It's about something underneath all of that. Something that shows up in the very first thing you do when a world loads in. Back in 1996, a researcher named Richard Bartle noticed that players kept splitting into 4 distinct types. Decades later, a survey of more than 1 million gamers turned that idea into something sharper. I've narrowed it down to the 6 that matter most. Each one has a hidden strength almost nobody names for it, and a blind spot that quietly follows it off the screen. One of these is you. And the 6th is the rarest of all. The first type is the Completionist. You already know if this is you. You cannot leave a map with a single unexplored corner, the side quest nobody asked you to do, the last collectible, the trophy at 100%, you finish it. Not because the game demands it, but because leaving it undone feels almost physically wrong. There's a name for what drives you. Psychologists call it a high need for cognitive closure, a term from Ari Kruglansky. It's the deep discomfort of loose ends, the pull toward things being complete and settled. Here is your strength. You have a patience and a thoroughness most people simply can't fake. You finish what you start. But here is your blind spot, and it does not stay inside the game. The same wiring that can't leave a quest open can't always leave a worry open either. Unfinished things follow you around. Learning to walk away from a map at 90% might be the most useful skill you never practice. The next type reaches for something completely different. The second type is the Immersion Seeker. When a game loads, you slow down. You read the notes on the walls, you listen to the whole conversation, you'll stand at the edge of a cliff just to watch the light change. For you, the story was never a wrapper around the gameplay. The story is the game. There's a name for what happens to you in those moments. Psychologists call it narrative transportation, studied by Melanie Green and Timothy Brock. The state of being so absorbed in a story that the real room around you fades away. Your strength is rare. You have the empathy to live a life that isn't yours and come back quietly changed by it. That's not escapism. That's imagination doing serious work. But your blind spot is a soft one. A world that welcomes you completely can slowly become easier to live in than the one that doesn't. When a story world starts feeling more like home than home does, that's worth sitting with. The third type doesn't want to feel the story. They want to win it. The third type is the competitor. You feel this one in your body. A loss doesn't just end the match, it sits in your chest and your hand is already moving to queue again. Ranked mode, the leaderboard, that number next to your name, it matters more than you'd ever admit out loud. What drives you has a name in psychology. Achievement motivation, and underneath it, self-efficacy, a concept from Albert Bandura. The belief that you can get better through your own effort. Your strength is a serious one. You have a growth engine most people lack. You treat failure as information, you push through walls that make others quit, and that same discipline bleeds into everything else you do. But your blind spot is sharp. When your sense of worth gets welded to a rank, a bad night stops being a game and starts being a verdict on you. The skill was never winning more. It's learning to lose a match without losing yourself. Quick question. Do you get restless in situations where nothing is being measured? Hold that thought. The fourth type barely cares about winning at all. The fourth type is the Socializer. Here's the tell. If your friends all stopped playing tomorrow, you'd stop too. The game was never really the point. It's the campfire everyone gathers around. The raid, the lobby, the same voice on the headset for years, that's what you actually log in for. Psychologists would point to one of the deepest human needs here. Relatedness, part of self-determination theory from Richard Ryan. The fundamental pull to belong. Your strength is something the whole internet is starving for. You build real connection through a screen. You keep friendships alive across cities and years. You turn a game into a place where people feel a little less alone. But your blind spot hides inside that gift. When belonging depends entirely on being online together, being alone can start to feel like something is wrong with you. The healthiest version of you can love the campfire and still be okay when it goes out. The fifth type plays for the exact opposite reason. not to be with people, to finally get away from them. The fifth type is the cozy player. While everyone else chases intensity, you chase quiet. The farm, the little town, the slow loop of planting and building and tidying, you play to bring your heart rate down, not up. When the world outside is loud, this is the volume knob you can actually reach. What you're doing has a real name: emotional regulation, using a calm, predictable activity to steady your own nervous system. Your strength is one a lot of restless people would trade anything for. You know how to soothe yourself. You can sit inside a gentle moment without needing it to be exciting. That is a genuine skill. But here's the honest part, and this one applies to every type on this list, not just yours. There is a version of cozy that restores you, and a version that hides you. One slows the day down so you can face it. The other softens the day so you never have to. If your calm little world is the only place the noise ever stops, the game isn't the problem, but it isn't the whole answer either. The last type is the one almost nobody guesses. The sixth type is the explorer. Here is your fingerprint. The game points you north, and something in you turns south. Not to be difficult, but because the marked path was never the interesting one. You're the one reading about the game for fun, poking at its systems, finding the seam in the world, and pulling at it just to see what happens. What drives you is what psychologists call need for cognition, a genuine hunger to understand how things actually work, paired with a wide streak of openness. Your strength is the engine behind every person who ever figured out something no one taught them. Curiosity like yours doesn't switch off when the game does, but your blind spot is the flip side of that same gift. The explorer who's always drawn to the next unopened door can struggle to stay in one room long enough to finish anything. 100 worlds half seen can leave you feeling scattered. Your growth was never more curiosity. It's the harder thrill of going deep instead of wide. Now, zoom out. The completionist chasing closure. The immersion seeker chasing a life bigger than one. The competitor chasing proof. The socializer chasing belonging. The cozy player chasing calm. The explorer chasing the unknown. Look at that list again, because here is the thing nobody tells you. Not one of these is better than the others. There is no top of this list. Each type is simply a different answer to the same quiet question. What does your nervous system reach for when it finally gets to choose? Your type isn't a flaw to fix or a box to escape. It's a fingerprint. And the tragedy is how many people spend years apologizing for theirs, trying to be a type they were never built to be, when the one they already are was never the problem. So you already know now, don't you? You probably knew by the second or third one. That small jolt of being seen, that was your type, recognizing itself. So here's what I actually want to know. Which one are you, and which blind spot hit a little too close? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if this made you feel understood instead of sorted, subscribe. There's a new one like this every week.